Hello. If you are here, you are probably an overgiver. You are probably just fed up with the idea of putting someone out of your space, out of your boundaries, setting boundaries. But oftentimes, because you're an overgiver, you do it out of anger. You do it out of resentment. You do it because someone has hurt you and you're finally realizing enough is enough. But then because you do it out of anger, out of resentment, out of something that has hurt you, you eventually you give it some time and then you eventually let them back in. And then the cycle happens all over again. So how do we end this cycle once and for all? Because I have had trouble, you know. I'm doing that little thing so it moves with me. And it's not moving with me. Come on. I must need to stand still for this one. How do we get over that? How do we make it so that we stop putting ourselves in these nasty cycles? How do we act not out of resentment, not out of focusing on the other people? Because that's all that's doing. That's centering the other person, what they do, because that's being reactionary instead of proacting. I have seen so many videos online on TikTok of people, expressing their boundaries, but expressing it from the place of other people. Sometimes they express it from a place of peace, but the energy that they give off, I just can't resonate with it. I just don't resonate with it. Because ultimately, while spirituality is not all love and light, the things that I sustain the most is based on love and life. How I want to live my life, how I want to move forward, has to be based in love. And you're like, okay, well, these people just betrayed me. These people just did this. These people. There's the solution. There's the problem, and in that lies the solution. Every time I would think about boundaries, every time I would think about, I would constantly loop the past. I would constantly loop what they did to me. So the center of focus became them and not me. You are the star of your own show. You are the star of your life. And it became something that was based on bitterness. And then I would end up being in regret once that bitterness wore out. Once I couldn't energetically sustain the boundaries because I'm not a person that lives in anger and bitterness the whole time. So oftentimes, once I energetically forgave them, all of the anger and the bitterness went away. Then I would slowly, little by little, open back up to them until I was giving too much again. And then I would find myself in regret because they would do it again and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. So, a way that I found, it came to me, it was like an epiphany. I believe I was meditating. You do it from a place of you. And I ask spirit for help because they're also like chirping. They like, hold up, excuse me, we gave you that epiphany. Give us our props. So that's why meditation is so important, because your guides can come through, spirit can come through, especially if you're struggling with something. I specifically ask spirit for help with this energy on how to not block myself, because I was like literally blocking my blessings by keep letting people in. Because I was continuing old cycles, old past habits, and nothing new can happen while you're still perpetuating the old. You're still living those old lifestyles, repeating the old patterns. I learned the lessons. Why was I still repeating them? Why did I find it so difficult to break free? It's because the foundation in which I was setting those boundaries, instead of focusing on them, I put the spotlight back on me. I am the star of my show. You are the star of your show. So instead of making it about what they did, make it about what you deserve. Instead of making it based on bitterness, anger, frustration, make your boundaries be based off of love for yourself. Center it around you and what you deserve. And that was the ultimate game changer. That was the ultimate game changer. Because then it didn't feel like I was punishing anybody. It didn't feel awkward. It didn't feel uncomfortable. I was able to stand in my boundaries and stand in them comfortably, so that even when I was feeling compassion for them or empathy for them, because these are not people who are just, even if they seem like they're great off that life, they're not. Because if they have to treat people that way, you know the inner child. I have a really great, a really special ability of being able to see other people's inner child, being able to see them at that core, their core wounds, especially if you grew up with them. And a lot of my transgressors are family. So I know what they went through. I know what they're battling. Even if not, I can kind of still read to people. That's just a gift that I have. I can see, like, oh yeah, like, it'll come to me psychically. Oh yeah, you're probably dealing with some insecure issues. Oh, you're dealing with some power struggle. Like, you feel helpless in your life. So this is why you're taking it out on me. And I would let the compassion for them overrule any boundaries, any anger, because the anger and the bitterness would dissipate. So then my boundaries was they didn't have a strong foundation. So then they would end up tumbling. They would end up falling. They would end up falling out. And just little by little, they would inch their way back in. But now, it's like, you know what? I see you. I hear you, right? I feel you. I mean, not really, but a little bit. Because I really don't take my stuff out on other people. I'm not saying I never have. So that's why I say I feel you just a little bit. I've always caught myself and corrected it expeditiously. um, but now I'm like, hey, but I don't deserve to be around somebody where I'm giving, giving, giving. I don't deserve to sacrifice myself, sacrifice my time for someone who wouldn't do the same for me. I don't deserve that. I deserve love. And if I don't see the love that I'm deserving of, then I'm not going to engage with it. I only engage with things of my vibration. You are not of my vibration. So I lovingly let you go, and I let you go permanently. Sometimes it may not be permanently, but some people will never change. Some people don't have it in them. And even if they do change, sometimes it just has to end. They're in your life for a season and a reason. And once that season and that reason is fulfilled and it ends, it's time to move on. And that's with life. You lovingly let them go. Because think about this. So you're saying, oh, everybody who's not on my vibration can't stay. Yes. Because it has to equal out someplace. Because either you're going to try to raise them up, and you can't raise anybody up to your vibration. But guess what's actually more feasible? What actually ends up happening? They're gonna knock you down to their vibration. You're gonna start wanting to dim yourself. You're gonna start wanting to overgive, maybe trying to bring them up, and then you're just depleting yourself. That's what ends up happening. And then there's this cycle over and over again, till you finally realize, hey, I'm being drained. Hey, this is not sustainable. Hey, I'm focusing more on them and what they're doing than I am me and my life and the future. Even if you're caught in a cycle of the negativity and the resentment and the bitterness, that turns into hypervigilance. That turns into rumination. A rumination is where you're thinking the same thoughts over and over again. It just keeps hitting your mind. Then every time something goes wrong or little, you're suspecting it's them. You're watching out. You're looking out. You're seeing whether their mood is changing. You're constantly on lookout, especially when you forgive them, because deep down, you know that they're going to betray you again. You know that these people haven't changed. So now, instead of you being able to be free and loving person that you are, you let them back in, but with the guard on your heart. You have these walls up. So now you're operating with walls up. You're kind of side-eyeing them the whole time you're interacting with them. So you're dimming yourself. Because we are not meant to be interacting with guards around our heart. We're not meant to be constantly side-eyeing, constantly, bracing for the next betrayal. So you say, hey, I deserve better than this. I love myself enough. I love myself more than I love you. And that is absolutely, positively okay. That is actually where you should be. You should love yourself more than anybody else, in the hopes that one day they will love themselves more than anybody else. If everybody, you see how that works? You see how that is a recipe for like, that's so sustainable. It's equal, it's balanced, it's very sustainable. It's a sustainable model. Because I'm not giving my love, I love you the most, but you don't love me the most. You love such and such the most, and such and such love this the most, but then it doesn't come back to me because nobody loves me the most. But if everybody loves themselves the most, then you won't be drained, and you'll constantly have this cup. Your cup. Look at your inner cup. People are like, fill your cup first. That's your love. That's your fulfillment. That is your emotions. That is that deep, deep part of you that wants to be fulfilled. And once you fill it up with your self-love, it'll always be there. Your love is always there. Eventually, it overflows. And that overflow goes to others. And this is how the whole world should be interacting. And best believe, the whole world can. We are all born to love ourselves first. And then to love and be loved. You know, a lot of people say, I think it was, what's that song? What a Wonderful World. If you listen to it, the original, the guy was saying, all we need is a little bit more love in the world. A lot of young people are saying that the world is terrible. Look at this going on. Look at that going on. And he was actually talking about our parent generation, like whoever's born in the 60s, the 50s, the 70s, I believe. He's like, yeah, that generation is saying, what, this is not a wonderful world. And he was like, it will be if you get a chance. But I want to change that up a little bit. Instead of us keep focusing on loving one another, because there's always a chance that we won't get what we give in return. I'm not saying don't love at all. But what I'm saying is, when you love and you continuously pour into yourself first, you will lack nothing when you don't get what you get in return. And then when you constantly don't get what you give in return, because every interaction won't be equal. But if it continues to be a dynamic of the whole relationship, then you can step back and be like, wait a minute, I deserve a little something, something. I deserve a little something, something. Then you withdraw. And it won't be so, because this world right now is built upon dysfunctional, unequal, give and take relationships. And that's a lot of reason. And it's devoid, not of love, of self-love. People are out here hating themselves. People are out here tormenting themselves. People are out here abandoning themselves. And it may not seem as harsh as I just put it, but it does end up being harsh. People who are overgivers tend to have things like eating disorders, depression, anxiety, They tend to have mental disorders, eating disorders. Because they're constantly pouring into other people while neglecting themselves. I've been through it. That 85 pounds, those terrible panic attacks, those were also spiritual attacks. It was a little bit some extra sauce put into it. But at the root of it was my lack of self-love that made me susceptible to all those different energy attacks. Because your love creates, it upgrades your aura. It creates this impenetrable shield where nothing someone does or says can really rattle you, can really take you off your steed. You become grounded and you become better in tune with nature because nature loves herself. Nature thinks she the bee's knees, and she is, baby. She is that. So this genuinely helped me to close those doors that were still open. Some of you may have walked through the door to leave, but you've left the door open so that anytime you be peeking through. Yeah, I know my family don't like me, but I still be going to certain functions. That's peeking through. And every time you go to the functions, you get treated the same way. And you're like, I'm not going to go to the function. But because functions really don't last, functions really don't last. Functions really don't happen that often. So you got 2-3 months in between a function to simmer. A month to simmer. You know what I'm saying? Or to decompress. And once you decompressed enough from the anger, the sadness, the bitterness that you felt, you're ready to go ahead again. Instead of looking at it as, this is not a valuable use of my time. This is not a valuable use of my time. I love myself to not put myself through that emotional ordeal. I love myself to instead use that time to do something that I really like, that would make me laugh, that would just light me up inside. And when you think about it like that, what would I really rather be doing? Who would I really rather be talking to? What do I deserve? You can sustain it every single time. Because that self-love never goes away. I don't deserve somebody like that in my life. I deserve someone who is loyal all the time and isn't just loyal when it benefits them. I deserve someone who isn't a fair weather friend, family member, associate, which means sometimes they on, sometimes they off. I'm always on, so I deserve somebody that's always on. And most of the time, if you are an overgiver, you do not ask for. You're not asking for too much. You are asking for exactly who you are. If you can do it, there's somebody else that exists that is like you. And you will find them. And you two will unite. Okay? So don't think, oh, I'm living around a bunch of, you know what I'm saying? Maybe you live in the inner city. Maybe you live in the country. Maybe you live in a small town where you feel like everybody's the same. I deserve to live in a place with like-minded individuals. And that self-love starts to build. You like, you know what? Peace. I'm moving. I'm going to try something new. I'm going to try it for me because I deserve something new. I don't deserve the same old that I'm obviously not happy with. That goes for jobs. That goes for anything. I'm not going to keep staying over at work when no one else stays over at work and I don't get paid extra for it. And when the meeting comes around, all I get is a little funky kudos. And people don't even talk to me. People still act like they don't like me. But I'm doing the most work though. I'm taking work off their shoulders because I don't have kids and they have kids. You know, first, that was really specific, and I've never done that because I don't play about overworking. I never played about doing work that I wasn't getting paid for. So if that was you, I love you. I'm sending you love. I'm sending you love because you deserve better than that. You are better than that. You deserve so much better than that. And what I mean by we are better than the things, the situations, the relationships in which we overgive. It's because we are people, we are beings, like I said, we are meant to pour into each other first. Into ourselves first. And then we're meant to overflow. We're not slaves. We're not mental slaves. We're not emotional slaves. We are not physical slaves. I know there's somebody in the background. I know it. I just know it. Somebody's lying. Oh my goodness. Anyways, laugh you. Just do them like that, you know what I'm saying? When them intrusive thoughts come, he's like, get out of here, boy. Stiff arm. That stiff arm look crazy. Like I'm wiping away a fart. All right, anyways. I got goofy for a second, a little light, a little yeah, shake it loose, y'all. Matter of fact, do that with me. Shake it loose. Because this topic can feel so heavy. It can feel so draining because it's been years, right? It's taken a lot of your energy, right? Some of these relationships and things that you've been pouring into has made you feel worthless, has made you feel like you wasn't worth the other mile. Some of these relationships, you watch those same people overgive to others or give just a fraction of what you needed. You know, a fraction would have been nice, but they gave you nothing. You watching them give to others, but what you gave to them. Some of these people you've taught how to love, and they've taken that and they've used that for others instead of for you, instead of giving it back to you. And it has left you feeling worthless. Some of these relationships have left you feeling rejected. I have been rejected from the Rudy to the Tootie by my parents, but yes, by my parents, by my siblings, by different family members. I've been attacked, ridiculed. Some of them people, anyways, we're not focusing on them. You know, I've been left feeling alone, abandoned, always on the outside. But once you really get into that self-love, you really become your own friend. And then everything changes. It's not so easy to tear you down. It's not so easy. You become stronger. You become stronger than the people who made you weak. You can go to the bathroom by yourself. You can go to the movies, because that's always what I like to say. I be like, man, these niggas can't even go to the bathroom by themselves. They be needing somebody to hold their hand and go to the bathroom. And baby, I can do life. No, let me not say that, because we're not meant to do life alone. But what I'm saying is, I I can do a lot by myself. Blah, blah, blah. I don't want to. Not always. But sometimes I'm okay with it. And I'm loving myself in it. And actually, sometimes I enjoy it. Bringing back to that trip I just had to Hershey Park, when I said deuces, it was like a party. It was like 6, 7, 8 of us. And I left them all. And I spent the last 2 hours, we was only there for 4, I spent the last 2 hours by myself riding every roller coaster I could. And at the end, I had got so much courage, and bravery was just pumping in my veins for choosing myself, for breaking free. That I was like, you know what? I'm going to get on the drop tower. It was the last ride of the day. They were closing. And it was nobody in the drop tower lines because everybody was leaving. But they were still doing rides, right? Because it was like 7:59 or whatever the case may be. So I buckled up, and she was like, all right, you the last ride. And she even let some other people on because it was my first time doing it. And boy, and you know, I ride roller coasters, but I was like, I'm not doing the drop tower. You know, I heard, you know, back in the day, it was a lot of stuff about the drop tower. So I was like, I'm not doing the kind of drop tower. But I did it. And now every time I talk about that experience, I am lit up with the self-love that I have for myself to be like, you know what, I don't deserve this. I'm going. And I stood in the lines by myself. I made, like, not friends, but you know what I'm saying? I seen people who I was in one line with, then another. We ended up conversing. Like, you meet people who are aligned with you along the way as well. You know, I was kind of the weirdo of the group. You know, I'm fairy la la in my little, you know what I'm saying, spirituality. And there was another guy who maybe would have been looked at as autistic. You know, he was like vocal, but he was kind of on the weird side. But it was crazy because he was just a different iteration of who I was. And at first, it kind of caught me off guard, but I quickly understood. I'm like, wow, he's very talkative like me. Like, I just be talking. And I wonder if, like, that's how I come across to people. Like, like me, I think I come across like charismatic and things like that. But I know that some people, you know, they be like, dang, why is she so friendly? Like, what's up with her? And for him, he came across as like the ADHD type or the autism spectrum type. And I do believe that autistic people are just people who are comfortable in themselves, people who are a little bit more in touch with spirituality, even though they may not know it. They are closer to nature, they're closer to them true selves. And because they refuse to conform, then they're labeled differently. Sometimes with the audio and the visual things, they need to be out in nature. They're rejecting this space this society that we created for ourselves, where we remove ourselves from nature because nature is not overstimulating. Sit a autistic person in nature and they're cool, they're fine, they're not overstimulated. But sit them in a classroom boxed in, and that even sound, let me tell you something, that was even overwhelming for me. Like, ooh. So yes, choose yourself. You are worthy. You deserve it. You can do it. Base it off of the love you have for yourself, that you're not constantly giving to those who aren't given to you. You aren't paying those second minds. Do you ever go to sleep and somebody's still on your mind? You're trying to solve other people's problems. You know, you're constantly giving your energy. Pull back some. You are not living their lives. You are living your life. Who, while you're busy trying to figure out someone else's problems, who is trying to figure out your problems? Right? And that doesn't mean go and find an overgiver. It just means to take control, be the star of your show, and be like, you know what? If I'm going to spend any extra time thinking, if I'm going to go to sleep thinking, I'm going to think about me. because you deserve that. You are worthy of your love and your attention and your devotion. And you deserve to know what it feels like to be nurtured by blank. Insert your name right now. I deserve to know what it feels like to be loved by faith. And I got me a special type of um, love. And I keep thinking like overwhelming, but it's really all encompassing. I really have an all encompassing love that for many can feel overwhelming. And sometimes it even overwhelms my heart. I'm like, whoa, like I have a really deep, intense love. And for the longest, I thought my love was worthless. I thought it was just something easily thrown away. So I also realized that yes, in it being all encompassing, not many people can experience that love. You know, it can be scary to be just loved completely like that if you never experienced that before. But anyways, um, that rocked my world. That changed my life. Over givers, people who are basically just at the end of breaking their cycle, like they're almost there, but they still find themselves sucked back in a loop, back in a loop, back in a loop. You know, it's like a force of gravity just got you spinning around, centrifugal force. How to break that? How to break that loop of you just spinning round and round and round and round, right? When it seems like everything wants you to stay in that, the way you know, then you do something different. You let go. You let go. And you may stumble back, but then you will find your footing again. And that's you deciding. That's that shift. There's a shift that has to happen between you focusing on them and what they're doing and them not giving to you, and you shifting into yourself and being like, hey, this is what I deserve, and I'm gonna go after what I deserve. And it's about me, and it's about the love I deserve, not the love that you're not giving. A small shift that changes everything. It's about what I deserve. It's about what I want. It's about what I enjoy. Guys, hype me up. If you hit the like button, sometimes it'll pop up that you can, I think it happens every time. Every time you hit the like button, um, it'll say whether you can hype it up or not. Please, I hope you choose to hype me up so that this can get out to other people. I do truly believe that my energy will reach, but I still appreciate the support that you're giving when you comment, when you subscribe. I really do appreciate it, because this is something that I also had to learn, that I'm finally doing this because I enjoy doing this, and not in a way to gain validation, or to even prove my self-worth, right? I am not what I do. I am not what I give. I am who I am. And because of who I am, that is why I'm doing this. Even this has had a shift for me in these past couple of days, where I always knew that, right? But I don't think I was embodying it. So you won't see me here every day like other creators. You damn sure not gonna see me posting a couple times a day, because I have a life that is meant to be lived. I have a destiny that's meant to be lived outside of this. I am not my work. That is not the culmination. A lot of people, when they get those lifetime achievement awards, it's always about what they do for others instead of what they have done for themselves. And that is something that I believe that we must change. I want to change the world. But after I change the world, I'm not going to change the world and then I'm worthy to be like, oh my gosh, she changed the world. She's amazing. No, I'm going to change the world because of who I already am and who I was born as. That's the difference. That's the gap. And that's the energy that I'm coming from now. And I'm so grateful for that. Because now it isn't all this pressure. And another thing, ask your guides to give you this energy. If you have listened to this and you don't know what the freak I've been talking about, or you can understand like you're almost there, you know, it's like you can feel the electricity sparking, but it's not a physical connection where the current can actually flow. It's just that little spark of potential potential energy. You can feel it. You can feel it. Ask your guide, say, hey, I need some help. Go out in nature, put your feet in nature and be like, I need to talk to something physical. Can you help me with this idea that she was talking about focusing on me and not on them? I've been hurt so deeply. It felt like somebody, you know, carved open my chest like in the Pirates of the Caribbean and took out my heart and stomped on it. How can I not focus on that but focus on me? Can you help me? Give me the energy, give me the strength to see what it is she's talking about, because that is exactly how I arrived at that epiphany. I asked for the help, the strength, the energy to be able to break free of the cycles, of the blocks that I just kept perpetuating. It'll help you break free from the fear as well. The fear will just dissolve away. Once this clicks in your mind, because then you don't have to answer. You will feel like you don't have to answer. Why should you answer to somebody about what you like? Because you can just as easily be like, don't you do what you like to do? Okay, well, I'm going to do what I like to do. You don't do what you like to do? Well, that's sad, because I'm going to do what I like to do. I'm going to put me first. It's about me. It's not about you. And one day I hope you get there. But to be honest, if we talking to our people who we overgive to, they do what they like anyway. Because when it's time to give back to you, they do what they like and they don't, right? So I hope you guys can feel the love. Feel the love. Let's just stand here together, because I'm just feeling so much love radiating. If you are still here, know that I love you. And you definitely deserve to love you, because it feels amazing. Okay, time to get vulnerable. Do your asking.